Hello, my name is Eric Wong, and welcome to the 5th episode of Behind the Music, a video series where I, along with other incredible young musicians, talk a little bit about our crafts. Today, I wanted to discuss about Julian Bream, one of my all-time favorite artists. Sadly, Mr. Bream recently passed away at the age of 87. I wanted this episode to serve a little bit as a commemoration to him. First, I'll be providing a brief overview of Mr. Bream's life and his incredible artistic legacy. Next, a fantastic young guitarist, Gwenyth Aggeler, and I will be having a short conversation on Mr. Bream's personal impact on our lives. Julian Bream was a British guitarist born in London, England. His father was an amateur jazz guitarist, inspiring Bream to take up the guitar and to love jazz. In fact, he even named his dog Django after the famous guitarist Django Reinhardt. He was a little bit of a child prodigy of the piano, getting accepted to the Royal College of Music at just 16 years old. However, when Bream was told he couldn't bring his guitar with him, he decided to leave. Bream rose to fame through his recordings with the BBC and his tours of Europe after spending about 3.5 years in the army. In this time, he formed the Julian Bream Consort, specializing in early English music. He brought recognition and fame to the instrument, commissioning works by Malcolm Arnold, Benjamin Britten, William Walton, and so many more. But I'm not the only guitarist who has been greatly affected by Julian Bream. And I've got a really good one with me here today, Gwenyth Aggeler. So Gwenyth, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm very glad to be a part of this. I am Gwenyth. I am a guitarist from Denver, Colorado, and that's where I am now. I'm just barely 18 years old. I just started college actually at Peabody Institute of Music. I studied with Maestro Manuel Barrueco. He's a really great teacher. Maestro, if you see this, thanks. Yeah. I don't know if he's gonna see it. Okay, I don't know why I said that. Maybe, you know.
I kind of wanted to ask you about Julian Bream. What are your impressions on his playing?
I listened to him a bit, like right before this, just to like hear some more different stuff that he played. And I listened to some of like his Spanish music and stuff, but I still think definitely the album that's like influenced me the most and has had like the biggest effect on me is 21st Century Guitar. Not 21st Century Guitar, 20th Century Guitar. I mean, obviously that was like one of his most famous. And although I think it just has a really nice like vibe to it the whole time, for lack of a better term. Like it's groundbreaking in many ways. There's so many pieces I wouldn't know without that, and definitely in his playing and in the programming and everything, it keeps a feeling of novelty throughout the whole thing. And that's definitely something that I strive for sometimes, and I think it's something that a lot of people can learn from, that I don't think I've heard, even stuff that's supposed to be groundbreaking, to be honest. I'm not sure if I've heard too much stuff even in modern day that has that same kind of feeling to it.
I've never listened actually that much to that album in particular, but I'll definitely have to check it out more.
Check out the album cover too. It's really great. Like, even from looking at the album, it's like you get this like feeling from the very, very beginning to end, you know.
One album that I listen to personally, or I don't know if this is one of his albums, but it's a compilation called The Ultimate Guitar Collection. It's an incredible album, and I'd say it's the Julian Bream Essentials.
What are the essential pieces?
I'd say his Concerto de Aranjuez, Valses Poéticos, a lot more like his Tres Piezas Espanolas by Rodrigo. But yeah, those are just a few.
You know, I think with anyone like Julian Bream and really any guitarist, you have to put their playing into, to some extent, a realm of context. With Julian Bream, you know, I think my perception of his playing and someone's perception of his playing in the 60s and 70s is probably really different. And sometimes when I listen to him, like I try to put myself in that place. Like, what would it be like if I was listening to this in like the 1960s? How would I feel then? It is hard to do because obviously I wasn't alive then, but I think in many ways our perception about music and just the way we play has changed a lot. With that said, there's some stuff that you can just agree has kind of universally came on. Julian Bream has huge tone color contrasts. No one, I think that's something that he did that then, people perceived it then, still now we perceive it. And that was really kind of a hallmark point of his playing. I think he had a lot of things that almost very much became his. And they approached that in the way it kind of shaped guitar playing, where there were certain tone colors, certain things he did that it was like his thing, like he became known for it. And that's pretty cool,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in case you guys haven't really heard Bream before, he has an enormous tone contrast, probably bigger than any other guitarist.
I was gonna say the other thing to think about too is like the guitars he was probably playing on, too, where in the 60s, 50s, those times they are a lot quieter and probably didn't have as much dynamic range as a lot of the guitars that are in use now. And so I think tone color perhaps accounted for like more of his color palette too, so it might have been a circumstance thing too. And one thing I think that's very interesting to think about in terms of like thinking about it in the time too is like right now like pieces like Quatre Pieces Breves, Martin, and Britain's Nocturnal and stuff, it's like a ton of people play them, they're super well known and stuff. And like at the time he was playing it, the Nocturnal was like 3 years old or whatever, and I think Quatre Pieces Breves was like a few decades old, but not too many people had played it. There was just like so much really great music on that album that really hadn't been discovered very much yet.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It probably brought to light a lot of the pieces that we know of today.
I would say the one like really big impacts that I definitely feel like Julian Bream has kind of left on me is just in terms of the concept of programming, and to not be afraid to do stuff that's a little bit out there. Going back to like 20th Century Guitar again, if you're looking at that album, he had so many great pieces on there that were almost unknown. And I've heard stories about like when he was touring with Royal Winter Music, which is also by Henze, or I guess the first suite of Royal Winter Music. He never played the second suite because he wouldn't go that out there. But the first suite of Royal Winter Music, that was a piece that for its time was so groundbreaking. I'm sure there were some people in the audience who like hated hearing that, but he wasn't afraid to do it. He wasn't afraid to push the limits of what was possible. I definitely think that's something that I hope to really take something from.
What set Julian Bream apart as a truly great artist was his fearlessness. His drastic tone color, in my view, was a beautiful and intricately crafted interpretation that was truly his own. His commission of new and often unknown works allowed the classical guitar to progress to the instrument it is today, with an incredibly diverse repertoire. As a quote from an NPR News article so poignantly put it, Andre Segovia popularized the classical guitar. Julian Bream took it to the next level. So thank you so much, Mr. Bream, for all you've done for us.